Good morning, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Today is Tuesday, July the 2nd, 2024. Goldilocks provided three very powerful articles today, and I'm going to do my best to explain them to you so that you understand exactly what is transpiring, not only with the global banking system, but particularly today with our U.S. banking system, where there are several what are called stress tests that have been completed and some stress tests that are being scheduled. Think of a stress test as a shock to the system. A stress test is conducted to, let's say, prevent crisis interventions, or also to prevent a collapse to the banking system. So it's a stress test is to prevent a collapse to the system, similar to when, as humans, we may go to the doctor to get a stress test. So it's an analysis of what is transpiring within the body to determine a solution to correct it, or also preventative measures that can be taken from a medical standpoint to prevent the body from entering into a disease state or a collapsed state. Same thing with stress tests in the banking system. It's done annually on banks. However, this time around, as we are entering into a new financial system, the stress test is more robust, and it's on a whole another level of testing in order to prevent. Again, think of preventative measures. It is to prevent a disastrous banking system, a collapse, if you will. All right, and here we go. So, back up a little bit. On June the 27th, Goldilocks provided an article from the New York Times about stress tests. Also on June the 27th, Goldilocks provided a YouTube video which was titled "The Biggest U.S. Banks Pass the Fed's Annual Stress Test." Also on the 27th, CNBC, Goldilocks posted this. CNBC, they posted that all banks tested in the new system remained above minimum capital requirements. Okay? And then on the 29th of June, Goldilocks also posted an article about stress tests, and we shared that on the 29th. It was a stress test done by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Okay, so here we go. Washington, D.C., the Commodities Future and Trade Commission today issued a supervisory stress test of derivatives clearing organizations. So now we have the Commodities Future Trade Commission, which is a global regulatory body. The name Commodities Future Trading Commission. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, our currencies all around the world will be backed by various commodities. So that's gold, silver, various assets that will be backing our currency in order to stabilize the value, and also to enable the strength of our currencies in the banking system. Not just the U.S., but every other country in the currencies which we hold. All right. So the Commodities Future Trading Commission today issued supervisory stress test of derivatives clearing organizations. So what is a derivative? The name derivatives actually tells you this is an asset that is derived from another asset. So when you think of derivatives, think of an asset that the value is derived from another asset. I liken it to, I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say if a young adult has a brand new car, Lamborghini for example. Well, you know that 16, 17-year-old child probably didn't purchase it. It may have been derived from his daddy or his mama that purchased this car for him. So, in theory, that brand new Lamborghini is a derivative because it has value but it was derived from someone or somewhere else. So when you think of derivatives, it's the same as saying that this asset has been derived or is derived, the value is derived from somewhere else. Okay? So let's go. The Commodities Future Trading Commission today issued supervisory stress tests of derivatives clearing organizations, a report detailing the results of its fourth supervisory stress test of derivatives clearing organization resources. Goldilocks continues, yes, this includes foreign currency exchanges. So think about stress tests were done on the banking system. That includes tests on foreign currency exchanges. Okay? Price shocks become a problem for a bank when they are required to hold a certain amount of capital to keep their balance sheet stable. It is possible to have too many deposits requiring a bank to cover them with certain regulatory thresholds are needed for loans as well. This is not as much of an issue as we digitize and add more capital to our banks going forward. Here we have the ability to share reserves through a quantum financial system in ways not possible in the past. So Goldilocks is referring to history being made, ladies and gentlemen, something that has never been done before. Goldilocks continues, perhaps this explains why foreign currency exchanges were not possible until enough gold was held in reserves to make it even possible. As we look back on the preparations that have brought us to this point, we can begin to look at all the work it took to get us to this place in time. And then Goldilocks provides the actual link to the Commodities Future and Trade Commission announcing the supervisory stress test results. Okay? So this is the results of testing how would the new system react to shocks? How would the new system, the quantum financial system, react to a potential collapse, to a potential calamity? Okay? This is all done in preparation, just like a test is done in order to determine whether or not you're ready to move forward, whether or not you're ready to pass, to graduate, to elevate, to evolve, to go to the next level. These tests were done in order to determine if the banking system is prepared and ready to go to the next level, to graduate. Okay? Now, here we have derivatives clearing organizations. Remember, a derivative is something of value that is derived from somewhere else, from something else. Think of that in the terms of derivatives. While derivatives clearing systems have the same familiar trade match front end, and remember, this is going to be very, very telling that we're going to go through here soon, where Goldilocks mentions front end and back end. While derivatives clearing systems have the same familiar trade match front end and banking and settlement back end that securities clearing systems have, derivatives clearing systems have far more complex risk management, margining, and collateral management systems. This next sentence, folks, Goldilocks breaks it down in layman's terms. Pay attention very carefully. In other words, Goldilocks says, our derivatives clearing organizations are currently undergoing stress tests as well as the banking system. Both play their unique roles in moving money from one entity to another. Here you go. This is where I want you to really, really pay attention to. You have heard the term said many times before, back screen rates. Have you not? We've all heard it. Both front screen rates, which are at banks, and now back screen rates, which are the derivatives clearing organization, have undergone a stress test to synchronize the movement of money. I'm going to read this last sentence again, and I want you to think back to when you've ever heard of back screen rates. Okay? You've heard the term said many times, back screen rates, both front screen rates, which is front screen rates, folks, is on the bank side. When you go into the bank and you look at the bank screen, or the teller may show it to you, that's a front screen rate. That's the front screen. And now back screen rates, which are derivatives. Think of the front screen as the young adult who has the Lamborghini. Think of the back screen rate is where our derivatives is where the purchase of that Lamborghini came from. It was derived by daddy. So the back screen rates versus the front end. Front end is the Lamborghini that the young adult is driving, but it was derived from the back screen, which is where the value truly came from, was daddy on the back end. He's the back screen. So you have heard the term said many times. Back screen rates, both front screen rates, which are at banks, and now back screen rates, derivatives, where it's derived from, have undergone a stress test to synchronize the movement of money. So this is the front end and the back end, both sides of the transaction, both sides of a major transaction, front end and back end, that have been tested. Okay, that's what Goldilocks is referring to. Next, and it's going to connect with this executive order that Goldilocks is sharing with us from a broader perspective. Okay, Executive Order 14123, effective date June 28th, 2024. The responsible office, the Office of Space Security Interests. You might be saying to yourself, what in the world is space security interest? There's an office. Think of Space Force. Okay. The subject, White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience, Executive Order 14123, published June the 21st, strengthens supply chains critical to America's economic and national security. When you think of supply chains, think of, again, watch the water. Supply chains are all over the world on the water. That's your ports. That's not only on ports, but also goods and services that may cross through the railroad system and the water system, but majority on the water. This is the supply chains. This is the lifeline of goods and services coming into and going out of a country. Remember during COVID, when supply chains shut down, you had automobile manufacturers that couldn't ship parts and chips and so forth and so on. That's a supply chain. Okay, so here we have the Office of Space Security, where the supply chain resilience has gone through testing as well. Actions necessary to implement the order, the executive order that is, will be coordinating through the council for which NASA serves. Actions necessary for which NASA serves. Each member of the council shall designate within 30 days of the date of the order a senior official to coordinate with the council and oversee the agency's efforts to address supply chain resilience. Folks, what are they preparing for? Why are they doing so much testing? They're testing with the back end and front end of derivatives of the bank, and now they're testing the resilience on the water. They're testing the resilience in the supply chains, at ports, railways, the banking system, so forth and so on. All right. NASA funding helps small businesses research new ideas, develop innovative aeronautics, human exploration science, space technology solutions. You may ask, why in the world is it important for NASA to be involved? Goldilocks continues. NASA's partnerships creates funding for growth in industries. These projects will define the future, i.e. artificial intelligence and advanced manufacturing. Goldilocks continues by saying, it looks like we now have coordinated efforts to correct our supply chain issues with leadership positions to carry them out. Watch the water. Now, the first link that Goldilocks provides is in the Federal Register. And in the Federal Register is very important as it relates to anything that goes into law by an executive order. Don't be concerned about who's in office issuing the executive order. It's more so the executive order itself that is highly important. Just no different than when Trump was in office, he issued several executive orders that all still are active and important. It doesn't matter who's in office. What is important is what the executive order itself initiates and is responsible for to go into law. Now, you have to understand and realize the quantum financial system is actually run by satellites in outer space. Hence why Space Force is so important. So here we have NASA that is overseeing the stress tests and the supply chain resilience, all coordinated through space, from space. The quantum financial system, the quantum computers, ladies and gentlemen, are controlled from outer space. Quantum computers and satellites in outer space. So when you think of the NASA that is overseeing this particular movement of the supply chain resilience, think of a natural disaster that this will help to be tested and prevent. Biological threats, cyber attacks, climate stresses, also major secure supply chain and economic prosperity packages are all controlled through the resilience of the stress tests that are being done through supply chains. Any sort of biological threat, geopolitical disputes, this all builds the secure back end security blanket needed in order for our supply chains to remain resilient in the event of any sort of threat, attack, natural disaster. Just think, here we are entering into a new banking system, a new quantum financial system. It must be prepared to be safeguarded against any attack, natural disaster, man-made disaster, computer disaster, whatever it is. This resilience is very important to know and understand that it's in place to protect our investment, to protect our banking system, which is also protecting us as we exchange in the new banking system. I hope this helps. And Goldilocks provided these 3 articles for us to really understand and dissect. I hope we've done a good service to you and making sure that you well understand them. If you have any questions to further understand what Goldilocks has shared with us today, please feel free to come into the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room, and we'll be more than happy to assist you and help you. We love you.